What biases exist around female musical directors, and how do you deal with these biases? I think one big bias that exists around female music directors is that there's just not as many of us as there are male music directors. And in dealing with that, I think over the years I've tried to grow my network of female music directors as much as possible, so that when it comes around to being asked availability for a job or something like that, if I can't do something, for example, I will try to recommend other female music directors, and that's how there's other female music directors that are doing the same, and it's how we are getting ourselves noticed in a way. Another bias is that females don't maybe necessarily play piano as well as men do. Just dealing with that is just being confident in your abilities, and whenever you do have to play or you have to lead a band and there are other males, that you're just confident in your playing and show that you can. A moment where you motivated yourself to overcome an obstacle. Really long time ago, I applied for a graduate program in musical direction and had to write a cover letter. And in the cover letter, I based it on how there weren't many female MDs working on Broadway. And that was why I wanted to study musical direction for a master's degree, because I wanted to change that. And I wanted to grow in the community where females were minority. And I received a response from that program that I did not move on to the next step. It was the very first year that this program was happening, so it was a really long time ago. But I didn't move on to the next step. And basically, and I quote, I was told to do my research because there were 3 working female music directors on Broadway at the time. Now, there are many more than 3 musicals on Broadway, and I was told that 3 was plenty by a male who was running the program. And at first, I let that discourage me and was like, okay, maybe I'm not ready to do a music directing program. And then I kind of set it aside for a couple of years, and then a couple of years later I revisited it, and I was music directing anyway professionally, but I just wasn't pursuing a master's program itself. And I decided not to go back to that school because the same person was running the program, and to be honest, there started to be more of a push. More people started to realize that female music directors were a minority, and within that push I didn't want to apply for this program. That's actually what brought me over here to the UK. So then I always have had a strong desire to come live in the UK, and I never got the opportunity to study abroad. So I used that push to apply, and that's actually how I ended up here. So I'd say I overcame the obstacle in that I still worked in the profession, and then I applied to different programs. I got into every program that I applied to over here, so I will say that. Didn't write the same cover letter, but then since I've been here, that's kind of been the theme, that not as many females are working in music direction, and I've seen the push for more and opportunities grow in the almost 5 years that I've been here in the UK now. What advice would you give to young women is to never feel like you can't be yourself. I know that there's been times where in a room, especially if I've been the only female in the room, specifically like conducting a band for a show, where I have felt that I can't be too defiant or too commanding, or it's that whole stigma of feeling like you're gonna come off as not very nice or bossy, or someone that's not easy to work with. But there's a big difference between being confident and owning who you are and actually bossing people around. So I think never feel like you have to compromise your personality, because I know I used to be like, is that okay? Is it okay if this happens? Or are you okay with that? And within the past couple of years especially, I found myself shying away from saying those phrases, because especially for music directing, you need to give a direction, and then you need to know, well, they need to know that that's what you mean and that they have to take it seriously. So you can't say, hey, could you cut off on 1 when you sing this? Would that be okay? Are you okay with cutting off on 1? That's not very confident. And I sometimes would feel like I would have to ask in a nice way. So I think that's the biggest advice. So always be yourself, be confident, and own who you are. And don't feel like you have to change your personality depending on the room of people that you're in.